It all started back in November of 2022. What happened over those few days shook up me and my wife in every sense of the word. I just took a new sales job. The hours were going to be pretty long, including some overnights outside of my territory. And it was going to be weird working out in the world again after more than 2 years of working remotely due to the pandemic. My wife, Claire, still worked from home, and we didn't have any kids yet, so me being away wasn't going to be a big deal. At least, that's what we thought. After the first day of my new job, I came home to find Claire looking a little on edge. I asked what was wrong, and she said she was just a little rattled by the earthquake we had had earlier that afternoon. She was upset that I didn't return any of her calls. I was in training all day with my phone turned off, so I didn't hear any notifications. I pulled out my phone and saw there were several messages from her. So I apologized and added that I didn't feel the earthquake, and we just left it at that. The next day, I got out of training a bit early and went home thinking we can go out for dinner to make up for the night before. But when I got there, Claire was sitting in the living room, looking pale and clutching a cup of tea. She was clearly shaken and nearly in tears, wondering why I didn't check on her after the earthquake a few hours ago. Again, I told her I didn't feel any earthquake. She looked at me with an almost accusing disbelief as she described how she was at her computer when the rattling started. She cowered next to a table as books and things fell off shelves. It lasted for nearly a minute. This was really starting to feel strange. I called my sister, who lived 10 minutes away. She didn't feel an earthquake. Claire called her best friend, who also didn't feel anything. We checked on the USGS website. No earthquakes were registered on either day. I was starting to wonder if Claire might be imagining things. Maybe she was nervous being home alone for some reason. I didn't share these thoughts with her. She was already mad at me for some reason. Why make it worse? My third day at work was the final straw. While I was in training, I had set my phone to vibrate so I wouldn't miss Claire if she called. And boy, did she call. Like 7 times. This whole earthquake thing was getting out of control. I pretended I had to go to the bathroom and ducked out of the office. When I called Claire back, she was hysterical, screaming at me that the house was still shaking. I could actually hear things crashing around her. I got in my car and raced home. There she was, sitting on the floor with our stuff scattered everywhere. For a fleeting moment, I caught myself thinking, what if she did this for attention? Or to get me to quit my job and go back to working from home? But why would she do that? That wasn't like her. It honestly made no sense. Claire said this time was the worst one yet. She heard these crazy loud sounds, like the house was cracking or breaking. Unlike her, I grew up in Southern California, and I was there for the Northridge quake in '94, so I know what earthquakes are like. She compared the sound to a freight train passing through the living room, which I had to admit was dead on. Usually with that kind of earthquake shaking, there would be visible structural damage, so I went from room to room looking at the walls and floors. Nothing. But when I went to the basement, there it was. A giant crack in the foundation and broken bricks everywhere. I had to do right by Claire to figure out what was happening. The USGS again showed no seismic activity that day. I asked a contractor friend to come by to look for anything like gas leaks or plumbing issues, or any other reason for the house shaking and the damage. He crawled all around and under the house, but he couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. We even asked the neighbors if they had any idea what was up. No luck there either. Well, almost no luck. There was a weird lady who lived across the street. When we moved in about 5 years earlier, she was always looking out her window at us. I sucked it up and knocked on her door to see what she might know. In her perfect, weird lady voice, she said her grandfather told her there was a bloody double murder in our house in the 1920s. And she's seen some strange things over the years. She didn't want to elaborate, and I decided I didn't want to know more. Curiosity killed the cat and all. I stayed home the next day. Claire looked nervous as hell, just waiting for the shaking to start. But it never did. For her sake and for our sake, I knew this was the end of my new job. There would be other jobs. Mine would just have to be from home for the foreseeable future.